In the midst of major sports games being canceled due to the virus, New England quarterback Tom Brady announced he was leaving the Patriots and joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Our next guest, Mike Bako, joining us via Skype, is the U.S. sports editor for thedailynational.com. Mike, how are you doing? Welcome to the program.
Well, we've all been better, but thanks for having me.
Okay, you're looking well. Let's start with a non-coronavirus story. Tom Brady, he's expected to sign with the Buccaneers. I don't know if he actually did because signings may be suspended right now by the NFL. What is the significance? He's 42 years old. He's had a historic career. Why would he go to another team now and continue playing?
Well, it's really been happening over the last few years. You've been seeing some of this inner turmoil in the Patriots organization. Brady, for many years, has signed below-market contracts with the New England Patriots, mostly in the furtherance of winning, and they've done a lot of winning, certainly with 6 Super Bowl titles. But I think the frustration was really setting in over the last few years where Brady was taking reduced salaries in the hopes that Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft and the Patriot organization would be able to get him weapons. Certainly you've been seeing some of his weapons on the offensive side leaving via retirement. Players that they've tried to bring in, like Josh Gordon, certainly most famously in the flameout at the beginning of the season with Antonio Brown. And I think he just looked around him and said, you know what, I really want to have another challenge, really want to move away from this. I want to go to an organization. To the casual fan, they may think of the New England Patriots as the team, the golden standard in the NFL, which they are. But if you actually look at the weapons, at least on the offensive side, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers completely outstripped them in terms of that. So I think he was looking for a new challenge. I think he was looking to write his own narrative in a way, and I think this is the ultimate Tom Brady thing to do. He was never going to end up like Derek Jeter and spend his entire career with one organization.
So let's start with New England. If you live in Boston right now and you're at home watching TV, a little bit depressed over the coronavirus, a lot depressed because Tom Brady is leaving, how do the Patriots stack up now next season without Brady?
Well, therein lies the question. It's what are they going to do next? Does Bill Belichick take this on as the ultimate coaching challenge? And does he install his very young backup quarterback who no one really knows who that person even is or how good they are? Does he go out and try to find a free agent or a trade for someone like, say, Cincinnati's Andy Dalton, certainly a middle-rung quarterback for most of his career, and certainly even getting into that Patriot organization wouldn't necessarily take him to the next level. So, as much as it was an ultimate challenge for Tom Brady to leave, to spread his wings, if you will, I think somewhere down deep, Bill Belichick kind of likes this idea of now he's not the favorite. Now they're not going to be the ones that are thought of as the Super Bowl leaders. They may not even win their division this year, which is something that's been inconceivable for the last 20 years or so. Probably going into the season, the Buffalo Bills, who had a strong showing last year and have been adding weapons along the way, they're probably the favorites going into things.
Yeah, well, all dynasties eventually come to an end. So what about Tampa Bay? Does this give Tampa Bay the weapons they need to win the Super Bowl?
Well, if you look at what happened to them last year, they had a number 1 pick, Jameis Winston. The only problem with being the number 1 pick and having those lofty expectations are when you don't live up to them. And if you look at his numbers, if you look on one side of the ledger, over 5,000 yards passing, led the league in touchdowns. Those are all great. The only problem is he also led the league in interceptions. So the thing with the Tampa Bay Bucs last year, with all of that in play, they lost 7 games by 1 score or less. So that's where the rubber meets the road in terms of not making errors, not making turnovers, not giving the other team the ability to win those close games. And certainly that's something that the quarterback that they had last year did on a pretty consistent basis. This year with Brady, that's not going to happen. So I would imagine that they're probably at least a 10-win team. That's provided that Brady comes in and plays at least to the caliber that he did last year, which was a down year for Brady, but with the receivers that he had, the tight ends, the lack of running backs, that's all going to change this year with the Bucs. So even if he puts up the same type of performance as he did last year, I think the Bucs are going to be in good shape.
All right, let's talk about the NFL. It's the one league during this coronavirus outbreak that's directly impacted because they're not playing right now. Baseball is frozen, NHL is frozen, the NBA is frozen. What is going on with the NHL? What are their plans? Because training camp opens in August. This crisis may not be over in August. Are they making contingency plans?
Right now, the NFL, the only real contingency plans that they've been able to do, or at least announce, and some of the reporting that we've been doing, is just centered around the NFL draft. That was going to be a big extravaganza in Las Vegas this year. There's going to be a team in Las Vegas, the Raiders moving from Oakland, obviously, to Las Vegas. So they were going to make that a big showcase event, certainly with a large gathering. That's not happening, but the draft is going ahead. Teams are still doing their scoutings and what they call pro days and tryouts with players. So the only thing that's really changed, at least that they've announced, certainly free agency is going on. Players are being signed, and they're really the only news that's going on right now. But the draft is definitely taking place in Las Vegas on a scaled down level. When it comes to training camps, I think that they probably are doing some internal planning right now. Nothing that's been announced, nothing that certainly has been announced on the scale as Major League Baseball and the NBA and the NHL, which are suspending their seasons or in a suspension right now, along with the MLS.
What are you hearing about all of those leagues that have suspended the season? Are they just sitting back, or are people going to work every day, either training if you're a player or if you're behind the scenes in the front office preparing? Because, you know, the NHL, for example, is going to have the playoffs coming up. The NBA is going to have the playoffs coming up. So they're going to have to make decisions, if they come back at all this year, how they're going to handle the playoffs. Baseball, I think, probably could shorten the season and get back to some sort of normality. What do you think is going to happen with the NHL and NBA playoffs?
Well, right now with the NHL and the NBA, everyone is on hold right now. And that's, you mentioned the front office staff. All league facilities are closed down. That means all front offices, all practice facilities, everything is closed down. They've allowed players to either stay in their home city or go back to maybe their hometown or where they want to play. Certainly there have been enough Instagram posts and social media posts of players talking about becoming gamers and playing video games. But you know what? They all have personal trainers. They all have performance coaches. Most players, at least on the NBA side, are going to be out there getting up their jump shots, keeping up their cardio, things of that nature. But again, that's just keeping in shape and staying in shape. That's not game-ready shape. Certainly on the NHL side and the hockey side, much harder to do that. Maybe you could find some place to get some slap shots in, but it's not the same way that you could do that from the basketball side and the NBA side. So there's really no set plans for how they're going to do this. I would venture to say that it might make sense to just start up the playoffs as part of the comeback, unless these leagues want to go into July and August and completely upend the entire sports schedule. It changes week to week, day to day. Andrew, I was on with you last week on Wednesday after the IOC announcement, and I said, you know what, we're a long way away from playing games in stadiums without fans, and here we are a week plus later, and that has been completely upended. So this is a day by day, a week by week situation for all of these leagues right now.
Yeah, I heard rumors that the NHL is considering allowing everybody in the playoffs. That might happen for both the NHL and NBA. Do you think there's a drop dead date here for the leagues, that they just cancel the season?
I think certainly if it becomes a nationwide issue where this is going on, where there's, hate to say, no end in sight. Certainly we've seen in other countries, talk about flattening of the curve. The Chinese Basketball League has come back. The Korean Basketball League are ramping themselves back up. So, we are right now in the worst, in the thick of it right now. So to think about what's going to happen come May, June, even until July, that seems so far off when we're just basically 4 to 5 days, depending where you are in the country right now, dealing with this. I certainly think that they're thinking that they want to get this in because, when it all boils down to it is revenue, and there's so much revenue that's being lost right now. There's contracts to abide by, to pay the players, certainly get back to some level of normalcy, hundreds of millions of dollars in TV contracts that are on the line. So I think that they definitely want to go to the extremes of trying to get these playoffs in, certainly on the NHL and NBA side. If you're Major League Baseball, you're probably sitting there wondering, hey, we're best positioned to come back and to play some level of our regular season and then into the playoffs. But if you're Major League Baseball, you can't be happy at the idea of fans, losing interest in your sport because they're following the hockey playoffs or the NBA playoffs while your season's just started.
Mike, we have about 30 seconds. I want to ask you about the Summer Olympics. The IOC says Summer Olympics still on.
completely criminal to be even talking this way. I would hope that the World Health Organization, or certainly the national IOC committees, just basically stamp that down and won't even consider thinking about that. It's blasphemy and criminal to be even talking about doing the Olympics in July right now.
Okay, Mike Bakel from the Daily National. Thanks again. Always interesting talking to you.